allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Ziegler.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Beagle.
Here.
Councilmember Gotchall.
Here.
Councilmember Grunland Fox.
Here.
Councilmember Leader.
Here.
Councilmember Resnick.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Mr. Brown?
No, Your Honor, I have no changes to the agenda.
Anybody up here? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Like a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes of April 9th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Any corrections, points that anybody wants to bring up? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I guess I didn't ask for nays. All right, motion passes. Correspondence, we've got one piece of correspondence. It's a notice of hearing for customers for DTE Electric Company, case number U-20471. Next item on the agenda is the first call to the public, and I'll read the rules for public speaking. The public shall address the council during the call to public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council. And all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council on any agenda items? Seeing none, I'll close the first call to the public. City managers' reports. We have departmental reports from March 2019. Anybody have any points? Mr. Gotchall.
Thank you. Regarding the DPW report, I noticed a note in there about a sinkhole at the cemetery having to be filled at the clerk's request, I guess. I had received a complaint about probably a few weeks ago after some rainfall, I think, that we had. The person said they couldn't really even get into the cemetery because of water buildup at the front. Is that related to the sinkhole, or is that another drainage issue?
No, that's another drainage issue.
Okay.
And yeah, I did drive through there yesterday, and we have a couple potholes that we'll be addressing here within the next week or two.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Beagle?
Thanks. Tim, I noticed in your mechanics report that
Yes.
the 2016 Freightliner dump, we replaced the left rear axle and stud. Is that common? Because that's a pretty new truck to be having to put a new axle on it.
It was, and I'll have to check because there. Yeah, I wasn't. I'm not sure exactly what we did there, but I thought that was under a warranty item as well.
Okay, yeah, if you can get Matt to
I will
send
get
that.
back to you on that.
And I have one for Matt if we want to go with Matt or.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. Matt. Under the fat, oil, and grease portion of your report, I see again we have nothing there. Does that mean that the people that were violating that earlier on, they're doing a better job of disposing of their fats and greases and stuff like that?
They are, and there's a couple more that you'll see on this upcoming months that we sampled, just kind of the way it overlapped on the schedule. So you'll see some more for the April one that aren't on the March.
Okay, well, good job on educating them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Resnick?
Mr. Dilling.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for including the test results now in the report on the PFAS update. What was interesting is the discharge from the wastewater treatment plant has significantly improved. I mean, 100-fold. The Tri-bar plant number 4 has made steady decreases, but Tri-bar plant number 5 took quite a big jump from its discharge.
Yeah, so we're still working on kind of evaluating, going through the results of that. There'll be some additional information in the coming weeks, more on Plan 5.
They're trying to root cause it now, or?
Yeah, I mean, with Plant 5, it's a new facility, right? It was constructed, put online after 2017. So realistically, we shouldn't see any PFAS from that plant, right? Because those PFAS compounds were banned prior to 2017. So that's part of the investigation that we're continuing right now.
And number 5 is the one closest to the freeway,
Yeah,
correct?
Alpha.
And Alpha.
Yeah,
Okay.
right next to the tower.
All right. Yeah, more to come, I guess. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Pat. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion and support. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thank you. There is no unfinished business. So that takes us to new business. The first item under new business is a recommendation to participate in the Federal Emergency Management Agency Assistance to Firefighter Grant for video conferencing improvements for the fire department training room awarded to the National Communications Corporation of Troy, Michigan in the amount of $6,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Okay. Discussion. Anybody have any questions, comments? Mr. Smiley?
Just one quick, kind of, just so I can understand this. It says here that the host city, Troy, they have a 10% match, for the, I'm sorry, no, it's the host city of Sterling Heights. Is that what, so whatever that cost is that what we're paying for? I just wasn't sure what the 10% had to do with, and maybe it has nothing to do with us.
So the total grant was for $1.2 million. The host city, or the fiduciary, if you will, is Sterling Heights.
Yep.
So they're the ones that put out the RFP,
Right.
right? The grant was awarded, and the grant recipient will be all of the communities. The vendor that was chosen is National Communication Satellite. Our portion is the $6,000, which will get us roughly $60,000 worth of equipment.
Okay, so that's that 10% match, that's our 6,000 of
Yes.
our, gotcha, okay, that's clear. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to approve a contract for auxiliary sheriff's deputy services with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department and to authorize the mayor to sign the contract on behalf of the city and approve budgeted expenditures of $6,000 for additional staffing for the Light the Night fireworks on June 27th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? This is pretty much what we did last year, I think, and years before. It worked out pretty well then, and imagine it's going to work out fine this year.
Yes, Mayor, we've been doing this since 2015.
Just one quick question. Last year, were there any incidents that were noteworthy, or
No.
was it pretty smooth?
No, I'm happy to report that there were no incidents last year that of note.
And the crowd was, I think, the largest since we started running the
I
levy.
believe so, yeah.
Right. Very good. Money well spent. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody have any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to adopt a notice of intent resolution for limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds for wastewater system improvements utilizing the bond financial advisor services of PFM Financial Advisors LLC and the bond counsel services of Miller Canfield Paddock and Stone PLC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Discussion? Anybody like to address that? Marilyn, it looked like you're
Sure.
great.
As we discussed last night and in previous years' budget sessions, we've reached the time that we are in need of issuing bonds to achieve the capital improvements of the wastewater treatment plant that we still have left to do. As I mentioned in the report, without the issuance of bonds, we would drop to a cash balance below $1 million within approximately 5 years. So it's come time to do that. Tonight, we have the intent to bond, which is just the informational in the paper that will go out to the residents in the local area, giving the intent that we are going to issue bonds. What we will do next is we will most likely come back the next meeting to do the next resolution. So that would give the ability to the attorney and PFM to begin some of the preliminary work so that we would be able to hopefully stay on track to issue bonds by mid-July. So that's the time schedule we're looking to try to achieve. That way we can start the project that is another agenda item tonight, which is part of the reason we're bonding, to cover the cost of that project.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Gotcha?
Thank you. So I know when we did this with OPEB and MERS, we had like a packet or two of information. And we talked about obviously the interest that we'd be generating off of the additional fund balance from sending out the bonds would cover our debt obligations at that point, plus some savings or some extra. With this, it's not obviously a revenue generator necessarily or interest income. How are we paying for it, or what is, I guess, what is the financial stability when, for us, this has been a fund that's always been kind of a pain in our side, essentially, because it never breaks even?
Sure. The information provided that we kind of looked at last night going over the cash reserve balances for wastewater, our rate consultant has built in this bond issue into those projections. So it is projected, as long as we keep on track with the rate structure that we've been following and that we've anticipated following for the system, that it would support the payments on this bond issue along the way in her projections that she's provided to us. So it's enough to sustain it. The payments would be made by the user fees from the wastewater fund. There would be no millage issued. If there was a millage issued, that'd be a whole different story going out to vote. But we're confident that it can be covered with the user fees that we already are collecting from the users of the system.
So just on current fees, or with the increases, or would the percentage increases be what we're using to build up the reserves over the next few years?
The percentage increases to build the reserves.
And what we currently collect is what would more than cover?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct. We'd still be operating at a positive result at the end of the year.
Okay.
And be building cash reserve.
Thank you.
Mr. Resnick?
Thank you. Marilyn, when we went through the OPEB bonding, you had given us the metric for the total allowed indebtedness for the city. Do you have that statistic with you, should this pass? Or,
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, I was going to say, if you could provide it next time. Then.
What I'll give you is where we were at December 31st of
Okay.
2018. Our legal debt margin at that point was just over $60 million of what we are allowed to issue. And our total outstanding debt at that time was 26.5.
26.5.
Yeah, so we've got almost 34 million remaining
Okay.
in our debt margin. And at this point, we don't anticipate any other issues that I'm aware of. So, and we're looking at this one will probably fall around 5.7, 5.8.
5.7, okay. So
Yeah,
we'll be at about half
Yeah,
of our allowable indebtedness at that time.
yes.
Okay.
approximately.
I'm just thinking, should some future project,
Right.
who knows, a road, major road or something like that.
Right, which I think that's still quite a large
Still have a
gap.
cushion, okay.
Yeah, and our water debt falls off this year,
Yeah.
so that outstanding debt comes off, and that was, I think our last payment was just shy of $1 million. So that'll drop off of our outstanding, and the DDA will be, that's all covered by the DDA, so, yeah, so there's plenty of room.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Smiley?
Thank you. Hi, Marilyn. In our summary, it talks about how we were able to, we had the opportunity to delay the, this process, due to several factors I don't have to go into. I just can't remember, when were we originally planning to start this bonding?
Would have been 2 years ago.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we've been delaying 2 years because we had quite a bit of development that brought in tap fees
Yeah.
for the sewer taps, like Menards and At Home and some of those larger establishments that pay high dollar taps. So we were able to utilize that towards some of the capital that we had going on at the time, and it afforded us the time to delay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Does the delay help us in any other way other than just, it just puts off, when we gotta start things,
Correct.
or
Well, what it did for us
things
really.
better now than they were 2 years ago for this?
Yeah, well, one thing it did for us is originally we were looking at issuing 2 separate bonds. So we would have had to issue a smaller one up front, then do another one a few years later instead of bulking it into one issue. And when you do that, your cost is higher because you're.
When you have two?
Yeah, because you're paying the cost of doing it twice
Sure.
as opposed to once.
And we're just
So,
doing one?
yes,
Wonderful.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion to adopt a notice and a second to adopt a notice of intent resolution for limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds for wastewater system improvements utilizing a bond financial advisor services of PFM Financial Advisors LLC and the bond counsel services of Miller Canfield Paddock and Stone PLC. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to accept the Midwest Power Systems of Milford, Michigan proposal for construction services for concrete repairs, tertiary system replacements, and electrical upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant for a price not to exceed $3,300,000 pending the acquisition of bonds that are required for funding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Anybody have any presentation to make on this, Marilyn, or? Sorry.
Tim's project.
Okay, Tim.
This
A
project.
lot of money to spend, so we
That is-
gotta have some dialogue on it.
That is a little bit of dialogue that we
Yeah.
need to take care of. Some of the issues that the plant is seeing right now is the degradation, I guess, of the tertiary system. That's one of the last processes in the plant prior to it being discharged into the Norton Creek. And the sand filters have extended past their useful life and need to be replaced. We worked with HRC with design on that replacement, and we're choosing some filtration systems that we think are going to be effective. We will still be able to utilize 2 of the sand and lamella clarifiers during the process. And another part of this is that we'll be doing some concrete repairs on both the equalization basins and the 2 oxidation ditches. If you remember, during our SAW grant program, we had some funds that from the state of Michigan that helped us assess the plant. And one of the things that they noted in this in the SAW grant program was the deficiencies in the concrete work. So we're going to be repairing this as part of this project as well. And then the third part of it is the electrical upgrades. Matt had been had quite a bit of trouble over the last year with our UV disinfection system, primarily because of power outages, and we're hoping to balance out the power with a new switchgear and a new generator that will be able to supply electrical power to the plant. As you know, it does have a generator right now. It's beginning to show signs of age, and we think that now is the time for this replacement as well. So all of this rolled up into one program will be with this project. So it's a total of $3.3 million.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Resnick?
How old is the tertiary system?
So the tertiary system was built in '93, and for a few years, it really wasn't utilized just because the secondary treatment was able to supply adequate treatment. And this was also designed for industrial waste that was coming from the Ford plant. And because the Ford plant also had its own treatment system, it was underutilized for a number of years. And I think that caused quite a bit of rust and depreciation at that point. But it is an old system and would need to be refurbished or replaced. So.
Well, if I recall, when we went to that Huron Valley watershed, symposium on the PFAS chemicals, that they were talking about active carbon filtering and the output of water systems into streams and rivers. Has that been looked at or considered?
We have looked at it. It is an added expense, obviously, and we don't have the values for that. Right now, our plan is to treat PFAS as at the industrial pretreatment at the source and eliminate it from the source. So we don't plan to utilize treatment for the whole plant. At this time, we are also looking at some treatment within the system so that if the contaminated solids that we're holding right now will be treated. It's actually part of the capital plan next year to treat that waste as well. So there are possibilities for small areas in the plant to treat with the activated carbon at this point. The tertiary system that we have designed does not, it's not part of the carbon treatment, but it does not limit us to utilizing that in the future, meaning that we'll have space available if we have to at one point or another.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Smiley?
This is probably for over here, but I know this is pending the acquisition of the bonds. Are we just trying to keep the ball rolling on getting this needed work done, or should we be waiting, I guess, for the bond process to go a little further before we?
No.
Why are we doing it now?
This
not
is
after the bond's working.
This allowed us the opportunity that as soon as the bond issuance occurs and the cash proceeds come in, that we can grant the approval to move forward with the project. So right now, the bid process has been done. They've provided the bid cost. They do not have authorization to proceed until the bond proceeds come in. If something were to happen with the bond process, then the contract is null and void. We would just cancel the contract at that time.
We just want to be ready to go as soon as that bond.
Yeah, because there's lots of equipment. There's lots of equipment that they need to order for replacement parts and things of that nature. So it gives them the ability to be ready to place those orders and get that equipment done as soon as possible, or else we'd be delaying the project out for another period of time.
Can we read into this that we're pretty confident that the bond will be okay?
Yeah, I believe it will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't run into any issues.
Wonderful. Again, thank you.
Yes, please.
Hi, Tim.
Hey.
So is the largest part of this expense the sand filters, basically?
It's about half sand filter, half replacement of the sand filters and half generator and concrete work. So
Okay, so it's half.
About half and
split.
half on that.
Okay. And then you had said that this particular sand filter was over 25 years old. What is the life expectancy? Is that about it?
Yeah,
5
it
years?
is about it. These tanks are metal tanks. It's not like they're concrete, and they degrade over time.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my last question, how long will the process take to, once the bonds are issued and you say, okay, go ahead, what's the time frame?
The time frame of the full completion will be almost a year.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gassion?
Thank you. I know in reading our wastewater reports that over the last few months, probably maybe even a year, or since last fall at least, phosphorus output has been over like the limit, so we've had to introduce additional chemicals. Does replacing that with the new system, is that projected to bring us in compliance then without having to add the additional chemicals?
It is a different process, so there'll be chemicals that will be needed to be added. We are expecting that it'll be less than what we are adding right now, for one. And two, the bench tests and the testing that the company has provided for us can guarantee a certain, to be within our limits. So that was one of the criteria for this particular system.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thanks, Tim. We have a recommendation in a second to accept the Midwest Power Systems of Milford, Michigan proposal for construction services for concrete repairs, tertiary system replacements, and electrical upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant for a price not to exceed $3,300,000, pending the acquisition of bonds that are required for the funding. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to award the Wayne Stock Parking Lot Construction Project to Best Asphalt, Inc. of Romulus, Michigan, an amount not to exceed $865,286.08. Accept the professional services proposal for construction, staking, and inspection from Difflin, Umler and Associates of Wixom, Michigan, an amount of $57,520, and authorize the associated budget amendments. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Tim?
So this program is to rebuild the parking lot located just off of Wayne Stock, between Old Wixom and Wixom Road. And if you recall, about a year ago, Difflin Umler granted the design work for this free of charge, and we certainly appreciate their interest in this project. They do have some vesting in it, in that they have property near there, but certainly the onus is on the city for the parking lot, and we feel that because they've designed it, we should also have them do the construction engineering, and that's why the $57,000 should be paid. This project has additional parking along Wayne Stock, so we added a local construction portion that we're taking out of local roads because it is a local road project as well. And we are using the economies of scale. We tried to bundle not only the city parking lot, but the fire station parking lot and this Wayne Stock together. Because of the design work that was involved, not only in this one, but also at the fire station, we couldn't quite coordinate that. But we did come up with the same contractor did decide to bid on this project, and it was actually the sole provider or sole contract that we received bids on. be open for other questions if they're.
Anybody? Mr. Gotchall?
So I guess just to reiterate my points from last year about not feeling using budget stabilization funds is the best on parking lots is the best use of budget stabilization funds. I guess just in the future, because like going through the budget last night, I don't understand how we have parking lots and we're not pulling the money from capital improvement for the parking lots. It just seems like we're not planning on redoing those. So then in this case, we had extra money, so the majority elected to take it from budget stabilization, but it's almost like the fountain or the pool across the walkway where work was done and then nobody knew that once it was installed, you're gonna have to maintain it in a few years. So it's just my hope moving forward that we can start to plan into the capital improvement budget, replacing these in 20, what do we get, 20 years?
Right.
So that's my hope. I'm still a no. I don't like using the budget stabilization funds, but I just hope moving forward we can account for that in our capital improvement. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Smiley?
I kind of have a question that spills over into the other parking lot, which is two from here. But just for the moment, I know this parking lot was supposed to be started last summer, and I'm sorry, it's another budget thing. That's why I'm putting that over here. Are we still in that fiscal year though, or is this work this?
Yes.
It was supposed to be done last year, started last year, but I don't know how late last year, so.
Yeah, we finished the main parking lot here in August. I believe it was end of August or so. So we bid that out separately. Then we were doing the fire department and the downtown parking lot in this project together. So we're in the same fiscal year.
We are in the same, okay.
Yeah.
The reason it matters is just that, I remember making the case that, hey, let's do the firehouse parking lot, in the same little package, hoping to get the economy of scale. And then, we are almost to next year, but not all the way. So we're still doing the firehouse a year early than we were planning on.
Correct. And we coupled it with the downtown parking lot that was already planned.
Right, yeah, that was already.
To do prior. Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Resnick?
Yeah, quick question, Tim. With the completion of this, and if we, pass the firefighters lot, will that complete all the municipal-owned properties parking?
Parking, if you exclude the parks, yes.
Okay, excluding the parks.
Right.
But municipal facilities, fire, police, city hall?
Police, fire,
library.
City hall, the Gibson House, we're
Okay.
doing a drive there. And that was kind of within this bid package. It needed to be separated because it was CDGB funding.
Okay.
But it was a similar timing, and we spoke with the same groups on that.
We'll have pretty much everything replaced within a 3-year
Right.
time span. So with proper, crack filling and sealing and care, and if there was good drainage, we'll get 25 years.
We should get 25 years.
And I agree with Councilman Gottschall, then we should start folding this into the 10-year capital plan then. All right, good. Great.
Sure.
Thank you. Your question kind of spurred an idea. Now the parking on Penny Trail and around Sibley Park, if that gets done, because we have the parking spaces just on the road there, would that be out of road funding since it's on the road, or how would that be accounted for?
This one across the
Like
street.
all of the street parking along Piney Trail, across the
City
street,
Hall.
all along the
I believe
Sibley
that's,
and restaurants?
that was part of the road funding. I'd have to look.
Okay.
But that's our intent with the Wayne Stock parking is currently.
Yeah, I would equate it to that situation you have in front of you on Wayne Stock right now, right? Where we're doing parking on the street there on Wayne Stock, and we separate that out to the local road. So yeah, that I can say with pretty high confidence that the work that was done in the past was all part of the original paving of the road, and the replacement would be considered the same thing, the replacement of the road.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second to award the Wayne Stock Parking Lot Construction Program to Best Asphalt, Inc. of Romulus, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $865,286.08, except the professional services proposal for construction, staking, and inspection from Diffin Umler and Associates of Wixom, Michigan, and an amount of $57,520, and to authorize the associated budget amendment. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Councilmember Leader,
Yes.
Councilmember Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Ziegler.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Gatchel,
No.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation to approve a 3-year contract with the Oakland County Equalization Division for assessing and related services for a period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022, and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
This is pretty standard stuff. You want to just address it briefly?
Yeah, just real briefly, the costs that are reflected for the 3-year period, which runs beginning in 2019, 2020, and through 2021, 2022, reflects about 1% per year on the individual rates for real property, personal property, and then the estimated annual cost. So it's a pretty affordable increase. I believe the last contract, which was a 3-year contract, was of a like number. They just didn't spread it out over the full 3-year period. It was done at 3% in one time period, as opposed to doing it at 1% on an annual increase basis in this contract. So pretty consistent and, in my estimation, reasonable and appropriate increases in cost to the service that we receive through Oakland County Equalization.
Anybody have any questions, comments? We have a motion and a second, please, or all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The final item under new business is a recommendation to award the fire station parking lot construction program to Best Asphalt, Inc. of Romulus, Michigan, and an amount not to exceed $387,820.50, and to authorize the associated budget amendment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Hi, Tim, you want to?
Aye. Sure. As I stated earlier, we kind of coupled these 2 projects together to try and get an economy of scale. One of the differences on this project for the fire station was there's quite a bit of concrete work that we'll be doing in and around this fire station. We're also adding a vehicle carport and some electrical underground for future use that is part of this project. One of the things that we did do with working with Best Asphalt was we went back to them and asked for some concessions, basically to reduce the cost they had there, and we were able to get an additional $63,000 off of their original price. One of the reasons for that, they were able to talk with their subcontractors to, I guess, negotiate a better timing of the project. So if we did it earlier in the year, before the schools were let out, they could get their subcontractors working earlier. They were game for that, so they reduced their price because of that. And otherwise, we're in competition with the schools and their parking lot programs. And so that was one of the things. And then the other valued engineering cost reduction was a small change in the aggregate and the type of paving that we'll be using there. And to some extent, so they were able to get a couple of things adjusted there. So that comes with a cost of $387,820. We did ask for a budget amendment. This was a little bit more than we had originally anticipated. Some of that was just because there are so many different road projects that are going on right now. This competition is pretty high, and that's one of the reasons we feel that that's coming in. And concrete work in general is just is more expensive than
Material costs.
Yeah, it's just material there.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Gremlin Fox.
So you had said that there's concrete panel work. So right now, it looks like there's concrete in front of the bays, and then the rest going around is asphalt.
Right.
So will that not be,
So the concrete that's existing there will stay.
In front of the base.
And actually, we will not be replacing that. We'll be replacing the asphalt that goes all the way around there, so.
it'll still be asphalt?
And it'll actually be changed to concrete all the way around the circle. And it's primarily because of the weight of the trucks, and when they're turning on such sharp corners, it will help with that. Chief, did you want to add?
Just to give you a little history, about 8 years ago, we identified that a complete base failure had occurred because the original engineering didn't take into consideration the weight of the apparatus today and the fact that they leave the building in the exact same place every single time, because when they pull in and back in, they just have to go in that exact spot, or the width isn't there to do that. So we replaced 9 inches of concrete several years ago, but at some point in time, through our engineering company, they said we were just spending good money after bad.
So that's why now you're going to do concrete along the whole area?
The ring
because
road,
of that
if you will,
same
it'll all
reason?
be concrete.
Because of the weight and everything of the vehicles?
Right.
Okay. Now, did the scope of the project change from the beginning?
No, actually what happened when you guys did us a great favor by moving a year ahead, we didn't have a hard number, it was more of a placeholder.
Okay.
And because material costs have gone up dramatically, the 350 that was originally budgeted became a year early, and we didn't have a hard number.
Okay. So if it's approved tonight, then they'll start immediately, I'm guessing,
Right.
before school's out, so, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My question was answered.
Mr. Gotcha?
Thank you. Just looking here at the 97,821 budget amendment, where is that? Oh, so the total cost is 447,821 with construction and engineering, correct? And that's the difference then. So it's almost $100,000 over budget, again, coming from budget stabilization. So it's just, this was over budget, Wayne Stock was over budget. I don't know, it's something that we really need to focus on in the future. Because what was our total on parking lots between the three? Is it going to be around $2 million? Because I think that's what we took out of budget stabilization, is around $2 million.
Yeah, let me look back.
So if we get 20 years out of it, we have to be putting away $100,000 a year out of that. And I don't think that's like anything we went over last night.
We took 1.6 million out for budget stabilization for the 2 parking lots. And that is the City Hall parking lot and the Wayne Stock parking lot. The 350,000 that we had in for the fire department was in the capital. Like the chief said, we moved it a year earlier, so.
So the administrative summary we have, it says contain the parking lot replacements for City Hall parking lot, fire station parking lot, and City Hall parking lot. These were all recommended coming from the budget stabilization fund to fund capital projects. So it may have been like in the plans, but we're still, at least for this summary, it's coming from
That's the way
budget stabilization, so.
Yeah, I do want to clarify that the amendment for the 97,000 is coming from general fund instead of budget stabilization. I just want to clarify that.
Now, what is like the capital improvement budget balance that we couldn't take it from there?
We carry usually around $1 million balance, and we weed in those 10-year capital plan projects. And at some point in time during that 10-year plan, we want to be around $1 million. So sometimes we dip a little below, depending if it's a hard year on us with a large project. But we look at the trend of that, and we want to keep that balance right around $1 million or so to have some excess funding in there in case we have some sort of emergency. We don't want to deplete that down to a low number, because if we do have something that comes up that is a true emergency of some nature, we want to have a little bit of cushion in that fund.
Would it be a giant liability to take the 98,000 out of there? Because last night we talked about not doing the loop around here, and that saves 173,000. So we're still ahead
Well,
after 2
actually,
years.
when I remove that out of the budget that we discussed last night, I will also be reducing the capital fund contribution for next year. So I will adjust that accordingly based on that project coming out. Because that was funds going into, we were going to be contributing based on that to capital starting next year. That was going to be included in our contribution, but we're not going to do that.
So where would that money then go?
Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Because the 172 is part of a one-time general fund contribution. So I'm going to pull that 172 completely back into general fund. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I'm thinking the 10-year per year kind of contribution. But since that was a one-time contribution, you'll see that 172 not being transferred to capital at all. It's going to stay in the general fund at this point.
Okay, so it's a wash whether we do it through the general fund now, or if we take for this overage out of capital improvement and then just
Put it
donate.
back in.
Okay.
Right, so we
Right.
might as well just take the 170 out completely and take this out of general now, and we'll still have about half of it left, or
Thank you.
70,000 left.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Mayor, just an important note, we do exceed that concrete at the fire station to exceed the 25 years.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, we have a motion and a second to award the fire station parking lot program to Best Asphalt, Inc. of Romulus, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $387,820.50, and to authorize the associated budget amendment. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Councilmember Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Ziegler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Gottschall,
No.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Leader,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the second call to the public, and this is the opportunity for anybody to come up and say anything they want, within reason, of course. So if anybody'd like to come up and address the council on anything that's on their mind, please feel free to come up and share your thoughts. Nobody's jumping up. So I will therefore close the second call to the public. Next item on the agenda are the city manager's comments. Mr. Brown.
So a couple things I'll highlight from my update, Your Honor. Anna Kulis Rosenthal, our new administrative secretary in the city manager's office, was kind enough to participate with the and become our 4th passport acceptance agent here at the city, which I know the city clerk appreciates. There's lots of times where it becomes necessary for our staff in the city manager's office to step in when things come to light that require city clerk absences, or both the clerk and the deputy clerk's absence. So we appreciate the flexibility that Anna has afforded us to have that backup passport acceptance agents, and she was very excited to do the training, which I was very impressed by. I don't know, Kathy, is it exciting?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. All right, good. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Chief Ron Moore, our Director of Public Safety and Police Chief, was recently selected to the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, or to represent the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police on the Michigan Elder Abuse Task Force, which was set up by the state of Michigan. So congratulations to him as well. And then lastly, John Bartel in our DPW completed the 3rd year Michigan Public Service Institute program through Central Michigan University. which is just helps him stay current on best practices and learn new things on how to do his work for us and our residents and our businesses. So we want to congratulate and thank John Bartel for that as well. And then we have some work anniversaries that are listed as well. And if there's anything that's on the mind of Mayor and Council, I'd be happy to entertain some questions or discussion on anything you might have on your mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are the city council members' comments. Mr. Beagle.
Thank you. Just want to congratulate Anna on getting her passport acceptance agency. I've been in a couple of times, and she's been in there helping out. And looks like she's enjoying what she's doing, and we appreciate that. Congratulations, Ron, on your appointment to the Michigan Elder Abuse Task Force. And we've got 5 employees celebrating their work anniversaries, anywhere from 1 year to 16 years, and thank them for their service to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congrats, Ron, on your appointment. Also, having been on council 10 years, when I first got on council, we were, using duct tape and bubble gum to patch up our police vehicles and fire apparatus and everything else. And we consciously postponed repairs such as these parking lots. And I remember when the ground was sinking in front of the fire station because of the weight of that fire engine, we had to make that decision to replace that pad. So the refreshing thing to me is that at the end of these projects, we will have all new paved areas in our municipal, other than the parks. I get that, but it's a good fresh start. And with the life expectancy of these things, we need to just be conscious of putting them into the capital improvement fund and keep the repairs up. So it's a fresh start on these things. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gatchell.
No comments tonight, thank you.
Mr. Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple little things. We have a special election coming up on the 7th. I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Thanks again. It sounds a little like a broken record, but I can't thank enough the staff for all the work they do getting the budget. And I know you're still, polishing it up for, to put it, before the council in a month or so. But thanks again for all that extra time put in. And then finally, it's going to be 3 weeks before we meet again, and that encompasses Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day in a couple of weeks. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Grinland Fox.
I would just like to thank all staff for their successes, Anna, Chief Moore, and John, as well as the employees that had their anniversaries.
Thank you. Mr. Leader.
I think it's all been said, so I echo what everyone else has said already.
Okay, thanks. I too wanted to, it's amazing to me the amount of work that goes into preparing for the budget meetings, and I really want to congratulate and thank all the department heads, their staff, and Marilyn, all the work you and your staff do, and Kathy, the same with your folks there, and you do a bang-up job, and we really appreciate everything you do, and Steve, your office is great during these times too, because it's a lot of overtime. A lot of stuff happens where we're at home and we don't know that the city hall is still buzzing here with people buzzing around getting the work done. With the doors closed, and you're still in here making these preparations, and we really appreciate all that you do. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks for coming out tonight, folks. Good night.